Have you ever been in a situation where the conditions of your life changed? I mean, it can be something that either you have control over or something that you didn't have control over, but your conditions changed. The weight of life felt heavy. You even probably got into a certain mental position, emotional position, but every day you still showed up. Every day you still was the father. Every day you still was the coworker, the son. I want to talk with you because I believe that what we have sometimes can miss is that even though our conditions change, our title never changed. Hello, my name is Hiram Roche, also known as HR, and I want to welcome you to the Focus on Greatness podcast, the Greatness Tribe. Every morning we have a dialogue every Tuesday morning at 5:30 a.m., which you are probably watching this right now. You might be on your way to work, on your way to wherever you are going this morning, to the gym, whatever that is. And I hope that this conversation that you are listening to, whenever you choose to listen to this, is something that inspires you, something that helps you through some of your toughest times. I want to look at a narrative of scripture in the book of Luke, Luke chapter 15. This is a story that Jesus is communicating to a group of individuals that are Pharisees. They are believers or church folks that have some issues and problems with different variety of things. But Jesus uses this parable, this teaching point, to be able to explain something. But I want to be able to look at this context a little bit different, a little bit deeper. So let's dive in. Luke chapter 15, and we're going to start at verses 11. We're going to read some scripture this morning. I hope you don't mind. But we're going to go through some scripture context because I believe this is going to help us in this journey. So Luke chapter 15, starting at verses 11, it says this, "And he said, a certain man had two sons, and the younger of them said to his father, Father, give me the portions of goods that falleth to me. And he divided unto them his living. And not many days after, the younger son gathered all together and took his journey into a far country. There he wasted his substance with riotous living. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in the land. And he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. And when he had came to himself, he said, How many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger? I will arise and go to my father, and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against thee, and before thee, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Make me one of thy hired servants. And he arose, and he came to his father. But when he was yet a great way off, his father saw him, and had compassion, and ran and fell on his neck, and kissed him. And verse 21 is where we're going to start or stop. And the son said unto him, Father, I have sinned against thee, against heaven, and in thy sight, and am no more worthy to be called thy son. Verse 22, then we'll stop. I'm sorry. But the father said to his servants, Bring forth the best robe, and put it on him. Put a ring on his hand, and shoes on his feet. Now, this is why I believe that this story context is so powerful. Because what we see in this story, sometimes we can be able to just lean in and look at the storyline And we pay attention only that he is what is considered as a prodigal son. Yes, he took his father's assets, money, before the time. Yes, we focus on the aspect that he went into the world and basically blew all of his money and found himself in some very peculiar scenarios. Yes, we can focus on the father's love, which is vitally important in the storyline. But what I want us to be able to see is the conditions. He had a season in life where his conditions was good. Living in his father's house, father taking care of him. Now he's got to a point where he's asking his father, hey, listen, I want to be able to have my own. Give me what is mine. He took it, and the scripture says, we just read, he then leaves, goes into a whole nother city, is partying it up, blowing everything he has. And now his conditions change. In the condition changing, everything around him changes. And here's the reality I believe that we see in this context of scripture is when the conditions change, his emotional state changed. Let's read it one more time, just so we can be on the same path, okay? I don't want you to think that I'm just saying some stuff just to say it. Still in Luke 15, we can be able to start at verses 14. And when he had spent all, there arose a mighty famine in that land, and he began to be in want. And he went and joined himself to a citizen of that country, and he sent him into his fields to feed swine. And he would fain have filled his belly with the husk that was the swine did eat, and no man gave unto him. So I want us to be able to see something. His circumstances, his conditions of life has now shifted. He don't have no more money. He's broke. He's empty. He's in an emotional state right now. He's in a physical, his conditions have changed, literally. At one point he had money. One point he had people around him. At one point he had all of these people that were celebrating him, partying and enjoying life with him. And all of those things changed in a moment. Let me ask you this. Has your conditions changed? At one point in your life, everything seemed like it was going well. Then all of a sudden, it feels like one thing after another, one situation after another, one thing that you can't control after another. And you're trying to hold all of this weight together while you're still being, while you're still doing, while you're still producing. Everything around you, though, is changing. The job acting special, the house going crazy, all finances is struggling. All of these things are happening, and emotionally, or more so mentally, there are things that is changing. If we read the context clearly, we do not hear him telling anybody how he feels. The storyline is not talking about what's going on in him internally. So what's going on with you internally? Your conditions is changing. Things around you are changing. The weight is probably heavier. Things that you're doubting about yourself, things that might be even struggles that you're dealing with mentally, all of these pieces are things because the conditions have changed. So let's continue, because I want us to see something that is vitally important in this scripture context. Verses 17. And when he came to himself, he said, how many hired servants of my father's have bread enough and to spare, and I perish with hunger. Let me just make it very clear what he's saying. Why am I in this position? My father can take care of me. Why am I in this position when the people that serve my dad, serve my father, are not in this position? What is the mental shift here? The mental shift is My conditions have changed. Yes, I came out here. Yes, I made a bad mistake. Yes, I chose I did the wrong decision. Yes, this situation happened. Yes, this might be going on. Yes, all of these things. Yes, I might have did something wrong. I might have messed up. Whatever got me into this position where the life has changed. My conditions have changed. Again, if it's in my control or not. The first thing that he does is he starts to think about his father's house. Wait a minute. Why is that vitally important? I'm not saying that you have to think about your father's house. I didn't think about mine. In the moments where I had some life conditions that changed. I remember this was a couple years back. There were some major shifts and changes that happened. I will just get to the one of the portions of the major changes. But one of the major changes that happened is I remember I had just moved into an apartment. I'm in this apartment for the very first time. The This is basically the month of April, right before this season or this moment of me moving into my apartment. The month prior, March, my grandmother had just passed. So I'm dealing with some other personal scenarios and struggles that's going on, some changes that's happening, conditions that are changing in this moment. Now I'm dealing with another emotional struggle because my grandmother has passed away, and I'm having to deal with all of the pressures and the things that I all across the board that I'm having to deal with mentally. All these conditions are changing. Now I'm sitting in an apartment by myself. And I'm sitting with the weight of all the condition changes. I'm trying to continue to be moving forward. I'm a manager at this time for a bank, and I'm managing a bank. I'm managing this wonderful team that I had. I'm dealing with still trying to show up, still trying to be the best, put that best foot forward. I'm trying to deal with all of these pieces, but conditions are changing. I can feel the tension in my own personal life. I'm struggling mentally. I'm struggling emotionally to the point of real depression. I get all the way to the end of April. Gets so bad, the weight gets so bad that I needed to take a vacation. I needed to take a break just to come out of where I was at because there was so much happening. Just to see if I can get a moment of where I could just breathe. Because so much is happening in these conditions that I cannot really articulate and communicate. But I know the weight. I know how heavy this is. So what do? I take a break. I go to the end of the month. I booked my plane ticket and was coming back to Texas just to get away for a little bit. Before I even get on my vacation, I leave out that Sunday to get on the plane, or Saturday or Sunday to get on the plane. I'm having a normal officers meeting that Friday morning, right before I get on the plane, right before my vacation kicks off. And midday that Friday, my job releases me. More pressure, more pain. I'm a producer. I'm a provider. Now the stress of how I'm going to do this. How am I going to provide? How am I going to do this thing? How am I going to... Now all of these other pressures of things are happening. The weight is heavy. I still come to Texas. I walk around, and while I'm here for the week, spend time with my mom, seeing different people, carrying the weight. Nobody would have known. They didn't know. Came back in May, sitting in that apartment with all the weight, all the pressure, all the pain, because conditions were changing. And then I had to be like him. Not saying that getting to this place, which we'll see in a minute, not just saying that getting to this place changed the condition. No. It started to change the focus. What was the focus shift? Before we get to this point, before we get to verses 17, we do not hear him communicating, talking about the son. The son is not communicating about his father, nor is he communicating about what happens in his father's house. In this moment, because of everything that is transpiring, because of how low he found himself, he gets to this point and says, why am I here? Why am I going through this? Why am I dealing with this weight when my father's servants wouldn't have to eat like this? Let's flip it. Let's talk with us. What he focused on, what clicked, was his title. I'm a son. And as a son, I shouldn't be living like this. What he shows us in this moment is something I believe is vitally important, is that no matter how much the conditions changed, his title never. Hear me, we're going to talk real. As much as my conditions have changed, the title of a father has not. No matter how much I feel like I've been affected with my financials and I can't provide like I want to, or no matter how much my distance is, I can't show up like I want to. No matter all of these pieces, no matter how many conditions have changed, and no matter how many times I have cried, no matter how much weight it has been, the reality is what has kept me alive is because my title never did. Yes, have I asked myself the same question or the same statement he made? Let's read it on. Let's read it on in verses. Let's go straight to verses 19. Well, we'll read verse 18 and 19. This is what he says. I will arise and go to my father and will say unto him, Father, I have sinned against heaven and before thee. Here's what he's saying. Verse 19. Am no more worthy to be called thy son. Here's what he said. Here's what he's saying. Here's what we're hearing for us. Because of all the choices that I've made, because of all the conditions that have changed, I'm no more worthy to wear the title. Have you been there? Have you been in that place where because all the conditions of life have changed, because this happened and this went on and this thing didn't go the way that you wanted it, and all of these things have happened, you are now trying to forfeit the title. That's what he's trying to do. He's trying to forfeit the title of being called a son. Sometimes I've wanted to forfeit the title of wanting to be called a dad, a son, a friend. Why? Because sometimes I just felt like I wasn't worthy, not good enough. Life would be better without me being here, forfeiting the title. Why am I in this position? Why am I feeling this way? Why am I feeling like they would be better off without me? Not because they have made me feel, they have said these things. No, I'm feeling this way because conditions have changed. And the weight that I'm feeling, the things that I'm carrying are so heavy. that they make me feel like I'm not worthy for this title. So life would be better off without me. They would be better off without me. It will be better off without me because all of the conditions are telling me I'm not good enough for the title of a son, the title of a father, the title of a friend. Not what you do, who you are. The title of just being a man. What we see, though, in verses 18 and 19 is him expressing his emotions. This is how I'm feeling in the moment. How you're feeling in the moment is not wrong, but it needs to be expressed. In this moment, he expresses how he's feeling in his emotional state. I don't feel like I'm worthy enough. I don't feel like I'm good enough. I don't feel like I should be a father. I feel like I'm not worthy of none of this. I don't understand why I'm in this position. I don't understand why it's so hard. I don't understand why I feel like I can't get out the hole. I understand the pain of when life circumstances change. But I want to speak to you today. And this is what I want to share with you this morning. Circumstances does change, but your title will never. Who you are will never change. This is what I love about this situation, is after he has said all that he has said, after he starts to communicate how he's feeling emotionally, the scripture says he starts to move forward. He doesn't stay in the pig pen. He doesn't stay in a distant place saying how low I feel, how bad I feel. I wish this would happen. I wish this would change. No, after he has come to this moment of realizing and communicating his emotions of how he feels, the next move he makes is he goes forward. He moves towards the person. He gets closer to the person that he's communicating about. Who? His father. Because the scripture says, while he's on his way, the father sees him afar off. The father has compassion on him. The one that he feels he's let down. The one he feels he's not good enough for. The one that he feels that their life would be better off without me. That specific person sees him from a distance. And that person runs to him, wraps their arms around them, and says, listen, my son is home. Oh, wait a minute, Dad. Before you do anything, I'm not good enough to be your son. Just let me serve with the servants. Son, hush. You are my son. The title you carry. Not what you did. Not what the circumstances was. Not how all of those things changed. No. You're still my son. You're still their father. You're still someone's son. You're still someone's friend. You're still someone's husband. But with all of those other titles, you're still the man. With the pain, with the pressure, with all of those things that you're dealing with because circumstances has changed. Now, will I say walking through this is easy when the circumstances change? No. I can't say that. There's been moments where I've wanted to check out. There's been moments where I've asked God, can I check out? There's been moments where I feel the weight and I've cried and I get into a dark space. I understand it. But I've had to communicate. And moments where I start to talk it out, and moments when I start to express how I'm feeling in the moment, is the moments where I feel the most relief because I'm able to get it out my system. Does it make it easier to walk through sometimes? No, it doesn't always make it easier, but it makes it meaningful because I understand the title doesn't change. The days that I feel like I'm not good enough as a father, the days that I feel like if their life would be better off without me, is the days that we communicate and they say, Dad, I love you. Dad, how much I miss you. Those moments say it's not the circumstances that dictate how worthy I am. It's not the circumstances that dictate how good I am. No, it's the title that I carry. I'm still your father. Yes, I left. I'm still your father. Yes, they might have felt you might have done something to make them feel however, abandoned, rejected, whatever the context is. At the end of the day, you are still their father. The title has not changed. The circumstances has changed. So my encouragement to you, my friend, my brother, is what we learn here. It's just like him, going through, making changes, probably feeling ashamed. Yes, he felt unworthy because circumstances in his life had changed. But what he remembered is what I want you to remember too. In the times that you're low, the times that you feel down, the times that you are beating yourself up, just remember, you're still carrying that title.